So Jen Shaw claimed she was spending $50,000 a month before her arrest to afford her lavish lifestyle. So let's get right into the story. So, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star Jen Shaw, who allegedly ripped off hundreds of victims in a telemarketing scam, bragged in her audition tape for the reality show that she was able to afford a monthly $50,000 lifestyle despite having an unclear source of income. Red flags right there. So we live in a gated community. I probably spend at least 50 grand a month, Shaw said in the tape, which has resurfaced in a new Hulu documentary chronicling her reality star turn and her criminal case. There are like 20 pieces of luggage when we travel, and like maybe 17 of them are mine. The reality star added while a photo of her husband and son boarding a private jet flashed on the screen. So the hefty amount, which totals $600,000 a year, didn't seem to add up for many of the experts interviewed for the documentary. The Housewife and the Shaw Shocker, which debuted Monday. Shaw has said she worked in internet marketing. Her husband, Sharif, meanwhile, worked as an assistant coach for the University of Utah's football team at the time of the tape. As an assistant coach, he can make a nice, reasonable six-figure salary, but $50,000 a month, you don't get that salary. Kelly Carter, a senior culture writer for The Undefeated, said in the doc. Coach Shaw himself joked in the casting tape, "My wife's shopping habits can be in it of themselves a daily source of my drama." Shaw's former designer, Koa Johnson, alleged that much of what she showed on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, jewelry, fur coats, and cars, were all borrowed or leased. See, this is like the prime example of keeping up with the Joneses. This is like the prime example of someone who is living far beyond their actual means. Because here's the thing. She was she potentially, right? She potentially could have had a legitimate business, but because her spending habits got so out of control, she probably ended up doing some very illegal things, causing her to be basically arrested, right? This can happen to a lot of people if they are not careful. This is why you end up seeing people who create a legitimate business. They start making a good amount of money, probably more than they ever had made before. They start getting stuck in that type of lifestyle, thinking it's going to last forever. When something bad ends up happening, and they're like, oh crap, I got to make the next bill payment. So they end up doing something that's either on the gray zone or just straight up illegal, causing them to make way more money. And they're like, oh, I didn't get caught. This could just last forever. And so they end up doing that over and over and over and over again. And they're making so much money and they're living this crazy lifestyle, spending so much money, they can't really stop it because as soon as they stop it, everything crumbles down, which is a very scary thing. So, for anyone out there who ends up creating a okay business or a decent business, make sure you live below your means so you don't end up trapping yourself into a situation where you're basically screwed yourself in a moral sense and in a financial sense. So Shaw's fans, co-stars, and even Andy Cohen have questioned how Shaw can afford her lavish lifestyle. So a possible answer emerged last March when the reality star was arrested by the feds for allegedly ripping off hundreds of victims, many who were elderly, in a telemarketing scam. So the Real Housewife, who portrayed herself as a savvy businesswoman, allegedly encouraged victims to invest in dubious online projects and bogus business services between 2012 and 2021, according to an indictment which ID'd Shaw as one of the ringleaders. So Shaw and her assistant Stuart Smith flaunted their lavish lifestyle to the public as a symbol of their success, said Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent in charge Peter Fitzhugh in a release after her arrest in March. In reality, they allegedly built their opulent lifestyle at the expense of vulnerable, often elderly, working class people. She pleaded not guilty to the charges in April. However, Smith recently pleaded guilty to the three charges against him, including conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, and obstructing an official proceeding. His sentence is set for March 3rd, 2022. So before her arrest, Shaw Star told Page Six in January that she was getting involved in a new entrepreneur program for women. So basically, she was going to scam a whole bunch of other people as well. Because this gets into like a crazy situation where you end up having someone like her where she could pretty much, like, if, let's say, like, the FBI and all that kind of stuff, Homeland Security, all that kind of stuff wasn't like on her trail, right? If no one necessarily complained about her, she could have basically stayed on the show, released this basically other scam program, and basically ended up completely probably making like millions and millions of dollars every single month just from the audience that she's built from this show. And who knows when she would have actually been like, affected by it or anything like that, because potentially she could have probably hired some extremely expensive lawyers to protect herself. So like this is kind of like a crazy scenario. But this is also why anytime you see someone just like blatantly flaunting their wealth, make sure you do like a double take, right? Because just because they're flaunting their wealth doesn't mean that they're actually wealthy, right? Because look, there's nothing wrong with living a lavish lifestyle if it's where you're living below your means. So for example, let's just use like a billionaire as an example. So let's use Elon Musk. Elon Musk is worth a lot of money, right? And like his income thing is like really weird because of like taxes. Like so, basically, kind of doesn't really have an income unless he sells his stock. It's really weird, right? But pretty much at any single point of time, he could literally have access to like I don't know, like $100 million cash pretty easily, right? So him basically buying like a Lamborghini every year, buying a Lamborghini every single month, literally doesn't mean anything to him. That is basically like him buying a cookie on a discount, right? So basically spending like 25 cents to basically buy a cookie on a discount, right? That's the way you got to really think about it. So when you just randomly see someone living a lavish lifestyle and there's not really any reasonable explanation as to how they are living that lifestyle, you can pretty much assume that they are not actually as rich as they seem. Now, a perfect example of this, right, is well Shaw, but another perfect example of this is you probably have a friend, if you're listening to this or if you're watching this, you probably have a friend that you know is driving like a very expensive car that costs basically the exact same amount of money that you know that they make per year from their job. So they might look like they have money, but they are living paycheck to paycheck. They might be wearing very nice clothes, but they have no money in their bank account. And in fact, they probably are getting hit with overdraft fees, right? You're probably friends with people like this. So you got to really understand just because someone looks like they have money does not mean that they actually have money, right? Which is why what you need to do to build your wealth, right? So that you don't look like you have money, but you actually have money is number one, pay off your debt. Number two, create an emergency fund. Number three, guess what? Put some money towards investments that will compound over time and hopefully potentially make you some sort of income on a recurring, consistent basis, right? And then other than that, just live below your means, right? And in fact, if you just live by this simple concept that anyone can do, which is live below your means, meaning spend less than what you make every single year, and you will live an okay life. Sounds simple, but people cannot do that because maybe they've been like brainwashed by all their friends, their family members that you're going to be poor forever, all that kind of stuff. No, everyone, and I do mean everyone, can get debt free. Everyone could get debt free, put money towards an emergency fund, which is like 3 to 6 months of monthly expenses, and put a certain amount of money towards investing. Because just think about it, right? Like, this is the thing, this is the reality that you got to really understand. Let's just take, for example, someone who ended up basically, putting, well, basically buying like a car. Let's say that like you have that friend, right? That, let's just say, bought like a $60,000, I don't know, like Hellcat Dodge Charger or something, right? So let's just say like 60 grand, right? So let's say that they bought that on a loan. So $60,000 loan, they only are making $60,000 a year, and they're basically having like, I don't know, like a monthly payment of, I don't know, let's say like $600 or $700, right, per month, not even including insurance, right? So if you were to put that same car payment into an investment that brings in like an annual return of between like 8% to 10%, right? You will be a millionaire after a couple of decades, right? Just that alone, right? Not doing anything else, but that car payment amount within like the next like 20 years, 30 years, you'll be a multi-millionaire, right? So instead of buying a car like that is going to go down in value, why not put that money towards an investment where you will become a multi-millionaire, right? And that's the thing that people got to understand, because guess what? You are basically making that car company millions of dollars based off the compound interest that they're going to basically invest the money that you are paying them for that vehicle, right? So that's something to really think about. Like, it's so crazy to see people willing to spend like $700 a month on a car that goes down in value, but not willing to put that amount of money towards an investment that will literally make them filthy rich. By the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 40inbox.com and feel free to give your thoughts on this, because again, you gotta stop putting these types of people as like your idols, because just because they look rich doesn't mean that they're actually rich.